Is Elwin in the chat already?
Probably.
I have to remember to mute
Here,
myself.
around here somewhere. Oh, yeah.
So my stream should start any second now. I had to
Yeah,
check.
I actually wonder what the timing is. I'm watching the time. Oh, yeah, 15 seconds.
Yep.
Hi,
guys. Thanks for coming to watch us. I really appreciate it.
I don't. Fuck off.
Yeah,
I'm just channeling my inner Satsu.
Yeah, so I was just telling Functional about my crazy month. So it's been a good month and a bad month. So like it's just a lot of people like in hospital this month. So like my neighbor died. And I mean, it was sad that he was gone. Like I said, like his family's sad, but it was one of those things where like if you had to go out a certain way, like he went out really well, like, you know, surrounded by family. He ticked off his whole bucket list, got everything done. I think
had a good run. Yeah, sounds like it.
You know, like there might be the odd last minute thing that he didn't do, because like I know she was mad at him because he kept forgetting to tell her where his banks were, like where they were in the city. And she was just like, could you fucking give me an address and a phone number, you know, somewhere I can call, because I can get there, you know?
I want your money. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's just it's one of those things
you do have to take care of it, though. Yeah.
So this is one of those things where, okay, so she was a stay-at-home mom for her entire time. Like she started off with a career, and then it was just between him and her. It made more sense for her to stay home with the kids, and she just never went back to work because like the grandkids came about, and she did like what a lot of parents do and became a nanny for the grandkids. So, you know, she's always lived at home, but, you know, she never did any of the bills. Like, it's not like she didn't know they weren't paid. She was given allowance for like food and things and anything that was needed to care for the house. And that's what she did. So she would just maintain the house, cook and clean, and make sure that the clothes were done and the kids got to where they were supposed to be. And if, you know, Mike needed to drive somewhere to the airport or something, you know, she did that. And that's not a bad thing to do. Like, you know, I'm not saying this as a feminist. She had a lot of things that a lot of women don't have with their family. You know, like she's got a closeness with her kids that a lot of people don't really have. But on the other hand, she didn't do it right because, you know, in the beginning, she should have had him showing her the ropes of what it was he was doing. Because, I mean, gratefully, he's lived his whole life. Like, you know, he's seen his grandkids. I think his eldest grandkid is like 11 years old. So that's not bad. You know, a lot of grandparents can't say that. A lot of parents can't even say that. But you really should do that kind of stuff with your spouse if you've got that set up. Just because, like, life is kind of shitty and people have things that occur. And she's a miracle case on her own. So she is my hero as a woman. This stay-at-home mom is my hero because she's had a huge car accident that almost cut off her leg. She's had a breast removed. She had cancer. Mm-hmm. She's survived all of those things, and she just, you know, she was just like, you know, the only way you survive that is to get up and keep going and doing what it is that you have to do. And you don't stop. Like, it hurts and it's painful, and she could have made herself out to be a victim. Like, she had more than enough stories that she could have claimed. She refused because she has her kids and she had her pride. And that's kind of what I think a lot of people miss nowadays. You know, like everybody has their problems and their issues, but, you know, you fight through it. But make sure you cover your ass. I'm just saying, shit happens to good people. Make sure that you've got your stuff covered.
Yeah,
and
of course.
You know, pointed at myself as well, you know, because, you know, it's everybody in the chat knows as you get older, the people in your life kind of disappear. And it's the people that you don't think that you would miss. Like, Mike McCarroll was a hard ass, but he was always nice to me. He was always kind to me. You know, British gentleman. He was very pompous. He was a little bit snobby, but he was always very kind to me. And you know, sorry for his family's loss, but I'm grateful that he ended the way he did. Like, he's got his plans to have half of his ashes scattered in Wales off a cliff, and the other half in I think I can't remember which town it was, but he was really into snow skiing. So I think it's one of the mountains in Alberta. So there you go.
Some things in life are bad. They can really make you mad.
But then the other one that kicked my dad in the knees. So I have an interesting family. So my dad's lost his first mother to cancer, and so there was a second wife, and that's the grandmother I always knew. I never knew my first grandma. She died before I was born, and actually I think my dad was 12, so no chance in hell of me meeting her. But my grandmother, as far as I know, like, you know, I don't really care about blood when that's not an issue. It was never brought up as an issue with me. Well, the thing is one of her daughters is adopted by my grandfather, and the other one wasn't because the father didn't want it. So I still consider her an aunt. I still consider her to be my dad's sister because they still grew up together as siblings. You know, like the title isn't there, like the legal title is not there, but in every other sense of the word it is. So her son has always been my cousin. He's always been my cousin. He's an older cousin. Like, I think he's like 13, 14 years older than me. But I always knew him as the guy who had 2 kids that would send us, homemade calendars every year. Like, his daughters would draw pictures and he would make a calendar out of it. You know, I knew him as a 6-year-old, and, I knew him from my grandfather's funeral. And so today my mom finds a comment from his brother on Facebook that he's been in a car accident. He was riding his bike and he got hit head first into a windshield, and his brother couldn't be bothered to call my dad. So we have no idea how long he's been in hospital. We don't know where he is or what's happened, if they need any assistance, if he's okay. And it's one of those things where you don't expect people to disconnect that much. Like, I realize that I don't know if it's his mom or if it's just Rodney, who's my cousin, but like my dad is so hurt by that,
Sure, yeah. I mean, the personal stuff aside, that whole not knowing feeling for people is always first. Whether it's good news, it turns out to be good news or bad news, the whole leading up to it, not knowing, it fucking eats away at you. And
yeah,
compile that on top with all the for lack of a better word, drama going around it. Oh man.
I think it's just we live in a generation, and it's not just the millennials, it's Generation X too. Generation X likes to shuffle a lot of it down onto the millennials, but they do it a lot too. But we don't communicate at all in a way that's even remotely appropriate sometimes. Like, not everybody's the same.
There has, the family unit, and a lot of people have been saying this for a while, like with more overt examples. But even just on that base social level, yeah, we have, you segregate people, some people in your family when they get old, like you send them off to a home, you no longer care for them in the home. Or on the other aspect, when you're young, a lot of families were like expecting, or children couldn't wait to get out at their early teens. And instead of when they were ready, because not everybody matures at the same rate, and they should have that comfort, that support of home, but there isn't that family unit, that family dynamic that sort of made Western culture great. We had that. There's other cultures too that have a very strong family unit, but I mean, in ours specifically, it just seems to have been, lessening. The bonds just aren't there as tightly. And that isn't to say, obviously you can have a falling out with family members. That's a different thing entirely. I just mean on a base level.
Yeah.
So we got to hold on to those connections while we can.
Yeah, not to bring the chat down or anything.
We started off kind of heavy. It's just what's up.
It's one of those things that, like, every time I see it happen, it's even just with like little things with friends, and I know that's the thing. Like, you move out, you leave high school, you leave junior high, you leave your friends behind, same with college, and it's just, at least our parents kept at least a couple of those friends.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people nowadays can barely remember the names of their friends, and it's kind of sad. I realize we all move on with life. We make new friends, just even if you end up hating your friends, don't forget their name. Like that's, I don't know. There's just something not right with that.
Oh, personally, I remember every friend's name I've ever had. I could remember their face if I saw them. In fact, not too long ago, my last year at the restaurant, actually, there was a friend of mine, Pamela, from, oh God, I think the last time I saw her was grade 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there. Some of the tail ends. I think there was a year or two that she left our middle school early, and didn't go to the same high school. So I hadn't seen her in, we're talking like 30 years. And I saw her, and I was coming out of the kitchen. I was going to go outside to have a smoke. I saw her getting up from the table, and I said, "Excuse me, Pamela?" And she turned around. She says, "Yes." And I'm like, told her, said my full name. And she's like, "Oh my God." And it was like crazy. It was crazy because I just, boom, picked her out like that. I don't know. Maybe I just have like, I typically don't have a good grasp of names for people I don't know very long. Yeah. So if I only meet somebody, a handful of times, I'll always forget their names. But the people that I've spent a lot of time with, I remember faces really well, but the names, they stick.
Yeah. Oh, it's actually I'm kind of different in the sense that I'm the same in the sense I'm not good with names. I'm very good with faces, but I don't necessarily always know the people that I remember. So it's like the people around me, I remember standing up for people before that I didn't know at all, just because I'd known them via like passing for so many years. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where back during the 2005 flood, I remember the pictures. So it was one of those things where there was this huge calendar because there was this picture of this rather attractive fireman saving somebody's grandmother, basically. And it was
That's why she remembered it. It was the fireman.
Oh, it was totally the fireman. Don't get me wrong. It was totally the fireman. But I actually remember the grandmother more than I remember the fireman. Yeah. Because I knew her from the neighborhood. I used to live in that neighborhood. And seeing him carry her, it was just like, oh, good, she's safe,
Why can't he carry me?
He wouldn't want to carry me away.
And sorry to put it on hold for a second. I just want to say hi to everyone. Hey, Noof. Hey, James Woodwright. Scotty. And hi, guys. There was somebody else. Oh, Elwin, of course.
Yeah.
And, Peter. Hi, Peter. Hey, Green Thunder. And yeah, that's everybody who's spoken up in chat. So, hey, everybody. Oh, boy. Yeah, we started off a little real today.
Yeah, sorry to be so deep. It was just that stuck in my head a lot.
Don't ever be sorry, because some days it's going to be a little bit of a we're going to start off a little on a real note, and some days we'll start off.
You're actually doing pretty good though, Functional. I gotta say, because a couple days ago I was going through the women things, and I don't usually get hit by the emotional part of that. But this weekend was just like, okay, every part of the process of being female that makes you emotional right now. So anything that I wouldn't I would be sad at, but I probably wouldn't cry about, I'm just bawling my eyes out. My dad's sitting there laughing at me. I'm like, you should laugh at me. You absolutely should. Because if I were in your feet, I would be laughing at me too. And there was a point where I was laughing at myself because it was just, it just irritated. That's actually what's irritating about it. Mm-hmm. is more that you'll be that upset about something when you're just like, I'm not upset. Why am I crying? I don't know.
Well, like I told you, I'm kind of the complete opposite. I've told you that Elwin calls me like a Vulcan because I'm very, let's just say, tight-lipped with my emotions.
Yeah.
I know I can emote, I can do those things. That just comes with my training as an actor. But when it comes to actually addressing things emotionally, I tend to first, there's a time for emotion. I'm not saying I'm a heartless bastard or anything, but mostly when anything sort of presents its head, it's always a logical lens first.
Ellen yells, "It is highly frustrating at times."
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I geez, only goes to attest to her strength as a person to be able to put up with that, because I've gone my entire life with people having a hard time putting up with that. From when I was a kid, as my parents and my family, to all the relationships I've made till now. It's I don't know. I'm just wired differently, and
yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like if I were a dude, I would describe myself as that guy who tries to be really gruff and probably pulls it off. But then you put a little kitty or a puppy in front of me, and I'm just like, oh my god!
Yeah, you can put a little baby Yoda, or my new avatar. That was my delivery today. It is so tightly packed and just.
I did notice that. I was like, oh, there's something different about what's talking to me. And I was like, I know it's not broccoli, but.
YouTube, it is broccoli. This is a wholesome family channel. No, it's not. This is 18 plus. At least.
So I guess it's two things we could do. I think people left our chat though. I don't know why. Maybe we were a little too dark for them. Oh gosh, that could have gone. That joke went south. All right, I was gonna say, so guys, if there's anybody in the chat who wants to guest on here, I was like, I could run around and try to find somebody, or I could make it fun and just be like, hey, if somebody wants to join us, they're more than welcome. I have three articles for you. I'm just gonna run them by you just in case you got them, because we didn't do that earlier and we could have. But so my
no, save them. Because if we have overlap, we just won't present the other one. It's all good.
Okay. So
I like the surprise.
The interesting one I want to go into is the Pope did something. The Pope did something. Of course, the feminists aren't happy enough with what he did, but I was still like, for all his faults, because I don't like this Pope. I don't particularly like the fact that he puts his nose into everything.
I don't know much of anything about the Catholic Church. I mean, I know the dogma. I've studied the major religions. I just don't know anything about the position in recent years.
So the reason I follow him is because he has the ability to influence people.
Sure. Yeah. There's still a lot of very Christian countries out there that listen to the Vatican.
The Pope. Yeah, like he's still very much able to convince people to do stuff based off of what he says. So I don't follow him all the time because I'm not Catholic, I'm not Christian, and honestly, I think they're goofy. But he does have influence. So when he's going to other countries and like he's starting shit, then I kind of follow that a little bit.
Well, he started shit with me when I was a kid, and we're gonna have a quick story time with Papa Functional over here. When I was a young child, I had my mother got me. Every young child has that one stuffed animal or toy that they really, or a blankie or something that's theirs that they will scream without, whatever. I had this stuffed rabbit that my mom made because my mom was a seamstress. She made a really cool rabbit that ever since I was a baby I had, and I must have been 6-7 years old. And my mom says probably even younger, maybe even 4 or 5, because my mom swears that there's no way in hell I can remember this because, it's whatever. But the Pope was in town in Toronto, and I think it must have been like 1984, 1985. So I was like 4 or 5 at the time. And I had this rabbit, and I remember that there was a lot of traffic, and it took us a long time to get the daily errands done. And at the end of the day, my mom treated me, my brother, and my sister, or me and my sister, my brother wasn't around yet, to McDonald's. Next thing we know, we're almost home in the car, and I just start screaming bloody murder. The rabbit was gone.
Oh.
And so you have that our day really had nothing to do with the Pope, but I guarantee you that's how I started with my down my anti-theist path. Because in my subconscious mind, I combined the two. Luckily enough, like I said, my mom, really good seamstress, she made me another rabbit from scratch. It wasn't the same, but it was a rabbit. Took me a little bit to get used to again, because, you know, when anybody who's had a child or has been around young children, when they have an animal, like a stuffed animal like that, or a blankie, when it gets washed, and their own scent is gone from it, they have to almost re-imprint on it. So it wasn't the same for quite a while, but once it did, you know, it was fine. I probably still have that thing now. No, I'm just kidding. You know, obviously as I grew older, it just kind of, you know, Toy Story where, you know, just grew apart. But yeah, that's my little story. Speaking of the Pope. So what's the asshole done now? Whose other stuffed rabbit has he killed?
All right, so I'll just share this one. Let me just go to that screen.
And sorry, James, I saw your long form question at the earlier. I didn't fully understand it, and we were still in sort of our little story time. This pontifical secret from legal.
Okay, so let me just do. Let me just. I thought I did pop out my chat. I did pop out my chat. What am I doing? All right. Just so I could follow what anybody asks me what I'm doing. All right, so okay, so Pope Francis lifts the pontifical secret from legal proceedings of I've got that covering that. Yeah, proceedings of abuse, trials of clerics. So this is a good thing. This is actually a really good thing. So
does this have to do with like some clerics touching little boys, basically?
This is absolutely to do with some clerics touching little boys. I knew that
shit's going on. I didn't know that was cool. All right.
So like I said, everything else you want to say that's bad about this guy, and I agree. Like, he's done some stuff that I was like, okay, mister, I have my opinions, so I got to speak for everybody. I agree with him for doing this. So I didn't pick the Huffbo because they weren't happy enough with the idea that, you know, at least he's allowing the cops to enter in and look into what these little assholes were doing.
Right,
but Vatican City, December 17th, 2019, at 4:12 a.m. CNA, Pope Francis declared Tuesday that the pontifical secret will no longer apply in cases of accusation and trials involving abuse of minors or vulnerable persons, and in cases of possession of child pornography by clerics.
Fucking right. Awesome.
So yeah, like I said, like this is big news and about fucking time.
Yeah. He may kill rabbits, but that's fucking awesome.
Right?
Because you know, I know Vatican City is its own country and it has its own, you know, like, you're basically getting police from another country to come in and do interviews. So that's huge news.
Yeah. With the instructions published December 17th on the confidentiality of legal proceedings, Pope Francis, I keep trying to call him Prope. I don't know why. Pope Francis intends to cancel, in these cases, the subjection to what is called the pontifical secret, bringing back instead the level of confidentiality dutifully required to protect the good reputation of the people involved, according to Bishop Juan Ignacio Arrieta. Ignacio. I'm sorry, Bishop Juan. Juan.
Juan.
Do you want me to say your name properly?
Juan.
Me too.
Arrieta.
Secretary of the Pontifical Council of Legislative Texts.
A bunch of wops when I was a kid. Anyway, continue.
The pontifical secret, also sometimes called papal secrecy, is a rule of confidentiality protecting sensitive information regarding the governance of the Universal Church. It is similar to the classified or confidential status common in companies or civil governments. In the new instruction, Pope Francis said the pontifical secret will also no longer bind those working in offices of the Roman Curia to confidentiality on other offenses if committed in conjunction with child abuse or child pornography. Witnesses, alleged victims, and the person who files the report are also not bound to obligations of silence, the instruction states, which is even better. Even better. If they get caught in this shit, Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, you know me, you know I'm an evidence-based guy, and I want this to come to light because, you know, there's all these accusations of this stuff going on, but there hasn't been any sort of jurisprudence to prove everything, to, you know, solidify whether or not stuff happened, and in which cases did it happen, which cases didn't it happen, and just, you know, bring it to light. That's fucking awesome. Way to go, Pope Francis.
Yeah, no, this is a great thing that he's done. Like, if he's going to be remembered by anything, this is probably the best thing he's done. So, the norms cover delicts against the Sixth Commandment, as defined in Article 1 of Pope Francis' May 2019 letter, Vos estis lux mundi, I don't speak Latin, which is sexual abuse of a minor or vulnerable person by a cleric or consecrated person. Yeah, that's right. It also regards the delict defined in an Article 6 of the Normi. I'm not gravioribus delictus. I am sorry if you're Italian or speak Latin. I do not. Which is the possession distribution. Yeah. You want to try it?
No, it's too hard to. The norme de gravioribus delictus. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, delectus I can do. Norme de I can do. Gravioribus. Yeah, it sounds like
studied Latin, and I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, so
that looks like it's got tentacles on it. That's all I got to say. The instruction notes, however, that information related to cases of abuse of minors or vulnerable persons and of child pornography should still be treated with security, integrity, and confidentiality in accordance with Canon 471 of the Code of Canon Law, for the sake of protecting the good name, image, and privacy of all persons involved. Which I don't have a problem with that part. That is how the law is.
And you know me, to me, the only protected class or group of people there ever should be are children. So it's good, like I said, and bringing this to light, because, you know, with the sheer volume of complaints, there's got to be, statistically even, there has to be wrongdoing there. So to bring it all to light and get justice and to deal with the criminals who, and a lot of them have been serial offenders. Get these fuckers. Yeah. I'm on board with the Pope. Pope is dope.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was published together with another receipt. That one modifies several articles in Pope St. John Paul's Second the Apostolic letter, Sacramentorium Sancticus. Sanctus. I would love to have a teacher listen to me say this. Tutela, which lays out the church norms on those delicts considered more.
Sacramentorium Sanctiatis Tutela.
See, it's one thing if I hear it first and then do it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's hard in that, like, for an English-speaking person, I can understand where the, inflexes are, and because it's still in you know, the same alphabet. It's just you don't know how the word is structured.
Yeah.
So once you hear where the inflexes are, you pick it up and you're like, oh, okay, detectis. Mario.
No, I gotcha. It was funny.
Well, we're allowed to be racist. They are white people.
The receipt, which goes into effect January 1st, 2020, makes 3 charges to Sacramentio Sanctitatis, as amended by Pope Benedict's
the Norme, yeah.
The Norme in 2010. Yeah, it changes the definition of child pornography as a more grave delict from age 14 and under to age 18 and under, which is good too. I mean, technically they're a different term, but I agree it should be the same. It should be the same.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that the age of consent law in Italy is like 14 anyway, so.
Okay,
but I do like the sort of globalization of the term for child pornography being, you know, like 18 under. A lot of countries are getting on board with that whole notion of 18 and under in porn, regardless of what their age of consent laws are, because it couldn't be
You never know. Okay, well, I think we can move on to the next.
Yeah,
article.
it is. Statutory, age of consent in Italy is under 14. So they're changing what is the definition of child porn for the sake of, international law, but and to try to, that's one way we're going to help curb, that the spreading of it, if a lot more countries sign on, because you can't get away with, having a 14-year-old on camera in country A and then somebody in country C whose age, has that published as, 18 and under. That's good. That's really good. I like it.
Yeah, so this is a good one, guys. I'm going to share this article with Scribe as well, just because I know Monkey likes hearing stories about baddies not getting away with being baddies when it comes to children too.
Well,
so
the thing is, Scotty, that the reason why it can be different, and it doesn't necessarily have to be tied together, like I said, other than the spread of it itself from country to country, in most cases where like in Italy or in Canada, where the age of consent is below 18, you still cannot become places where it's legal, a sex worker legally. You cannot engage in making porn. You cannot engage in anything that isn't under duress. Like, you can't engage in sex with somebody who is in a position of authority over you. Again, in Canada, you can have, in some places it's as low as 14. However, there are, certain ceilings. So like, it has to be within, I think, 2 years, the Romeo and Juliet laws. And in, I think it's nationwide, like a teacher, a police officer, a counselor, people in positions of trust, you cannot engage with sex with, regardless of their age, because you're allowing people to mature at certain levels, at certain rates. I wasn't sexually mature at 14. Fuck that noise. But I knew people who were, and
yeah.
But you're still having protections for children. Some of these people still are children, even though they may be sexually mature.
Well,
but you're still having the protection so that somebody in a position of authority can't take advantage of that authority.
Well, the thing with kids too is you could have a child who comes across as completely mature. There are some that are mature in different ways. That's the problem with.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
at 14,
entirely...
I was very intellectually mature, very socially mature, but no chance in hell was I even close to being sexually mature.
And that's the problem, is like kids growing up, like, they mature differently all at the same time.
And in different aspects, like all over the spectrum.
Like, there's some kids who are probably sexually mature. They're just not mentally caught up to it. And it's hard for them. Like, I don't doubt it's hard for them, because you want to have sex, but at the same time, you're not mature enough here in the noggin to really make that decision. And then they look back and it's like, oh yeah, that was wrong. And that's why adults shouldn't be engaging in that. I don't even like, I don't have a problem with kids doing it with each other, but even then I'd rather, like, that's why we teach kids about sex, and sex education.
I know what you mean when you say kids, but teens. Just for the audience, just for the, on the record, we're talking about teens.
Teens doing with teens.
Yeah.
Because
so like a 16 and a 17-year-old, they may be, and historically, that has happened a lot.
Because they're going to do it. They are going to do it. It's never not been a case where
let's give them the education to do it responsibly.
That's the only thing you can really do and keep it safe. And the only thing you can really do is, like, well, to the best of your abilities, teach them about the horrors of what children are like. Because, they're like, oh, you can just go get an abortion. You know what? Getting an abortion when you're a child who's pregnant is an entirely different case than an adult. Just the same as it is carrying a child when you're a child. It's a different case than when you're an adult. So who knows? Neither option is healthy or good. And
Mustafa, we talking about sex, baby.
Sex ed, basically. The church. Oh, Mustafa, I don't know that you would care about this one too much, but you might. You're from I'm being an ass. But the
You're
Pope,
from the Vatican.
the Vatican. But I know that you might have heard, you might know people who might know about Pope Francis a little bit. But yeah, as you can see by the title, Pope Francis lists the pontifical secret from legal proceedings of abuse trials of clerics. So those assholes can't use the church to hide behind anymore. The police can go and investigate that shit. So if they've got rumors of like, oh, I've got child pornography or I've been caught maybe diddling a child, they can't hide behind that anymore. So yeah, this is a good article. I'm not going to finish it because I think we get the point. And let's be real, I can't pronounce half the shit.
Yeah.
It's not that I can't read the real words. It's just when they throw in Latin. It's like whenever I play Ark and I shorten every single name. It's a blessing to shorten those. All right. Next article. I'm just
Bring up my screen because
it just
oh
takes a
man,
second.
I've got a couple that are
pretty good. Yeah,
quite funny. I think we could all do with a laugh right now. Indiana police say man's paper license plate in crayon led to car theft arrest. Well, no shit. Here's some real art news. Look at this champ. This is the next Picasso right here. Joshua Lewis Brown 20. A homemade paper license plate scrawled in crayon on a grocery bag. Let me repeat that. A homemade paper license plate scrawled in crayon on a grocery bag led to the arrest in Indiana of a man in a stolen car. I wonder if Bloodwing knows this gentleman. Probably 6 degrees of separation. But
is it weird when you know so many people that are Somalian that you see a picture of a black man and you're like, this guy's Somalian?
Okay, moving on.
Okay. And now I want to know, is he? Because he looks very much like he's a Somalian. Just saying. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
We're just going to go full racist out the gate. No, I'm just joking.
Well, if I said they all look the same, isn't that racist?
The guy's a champ.
Is he a champ?
20 years old, he thought he could get away with writing it on a grocery bag in crayon. Like, I mean, at least when I tried it when I was a kid, I used a fucking printer. And, like Mac Paint or whatever the hell it was. Oy, oy, oy. But in keeping with the theme of, and again, I was telling you before the show how it always brings up the same damn video, too. Like, what does McConnell and Schumer have to do with, license plates? But New Hampshire,
if it's an ad, chances are good they're just stalking you. So if you're wondering about license plates, I'd be asking you, what do you feel about license plates?
So continuing on with the license plate theme, and I hate this tagline. New Hampshire bartender's potty-themed license plate gets canned. Alexandra, you're such a wordsmith. A New Hampshire woman is trying to get her bathroom-themed license plate back after she was asked to turn it in for violating the State Department of Motor Vehicles rules for vanity plate phrasings. And can you see what it says on the screen?
P before we go. Mm-hmm.
P before we go. Like, is it really that bad? I mean,
no,
that's not really that.
That's like grade.
Kind of funny.
Humor. That's grade 3 humor. Like get over.
Apparently, New Hampshire was like, no, and she's fighting it because what the hell?
Yeah, I would fight it too. I would be like, eat my dick.
She's claiming it's a free speech issue. Kind of somewhat agree, except for the fact that it's a government issued thing. However, if they're going to allow you to do license plates, and as long as there's a clear definition of what is dirty and what's clear, like you can't have fuck, you can't have penis, you can't have
that's
like
just advice. This license plate is just advice. She's just saying, listen, man, if you don't pee before we go, I ain't gonna stop.
Yeah, it's just so weird that this got like flagged as a no-no.
Yeah, these guys should just eat my dick. Yeah, they
Like
can.
I've honestly I've seen some ones that I would consider worse, and I don't really have a fucking filter.
No.
So,
And honestly, if I
and
was a
it's
police officer, that would give me a giggle, you know? Like every once in a while, I'd be like, you know what? That one was cute.
yeah, it's informative. It's educational. There, she should say it's educational. You should always, before you go on a car trip, pee before we go.
Ellen's like, eat my dick.
And I just find it funny that, you know, New Hampshire's slogan on their license plate is "Live free or die."
Right?
It's not really that free, you little fucking fuckers. So,
So
I
what if
think
I
we should
don't?
get it.
Does that mean that if I don't live free, I'm gonna die?
Or maybe they're going to kill her because she's not free.
I mean, that's what they do to cattle, right?
That's what they do in China. Yeah, that place that we can't mention, China. So let's get to the meat, the meat and potatoes of everything. I want to know why it's Trump Trending Tuesday again for the oh my god, what 80 something week
It's
in a row.
basically impeach, 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 fake news. Impeach, 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 fake news. Yeah, that too. Mhm.
That's it.
That was basically it. It was just like everything I saw was just impeach, impeach. Oh, I can remember the morning I woke up to impeach, 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 and I'm just like, you guys.
Everybody's jumping on that click train when, like, you know, talk about impeach. I honestly, I couldn't give a fuck.
It's
like I give a fuck that they're.
It's a hamster wheel. It's a hamster wheel. Oh my god, they cannot function without this fucking hamster wheel. And it's just, you know what? Even if I wasn't a bit of a fan of Trump, and I am because I think he's hilarious. It's not a really good reason to like him in charge of a country, but I think he's hilarious at this point. But I would. You know what? I if I was even in the middle, I would have been already on the Trump train already, just because the hamster wheel pisses me off. So for the record, guys, I am not a religious person. While I will follow stories on the Pope, because like I said, I consider him to be he's a figurehead. Like he does move people. I couldn't give two shits about religion because I don't like the idea of people treating me like a sheep. The minute you assume I can't think for myself, I'm kind of like, fuck you. So this impeach thing is like hamsters in a hamster wheel. Like they cannot think past, I hate this guy. And it's just, there are tons of reasons to hate him. There are legit reasons that people have to hate him. And every once in a while, I stumble upon somebody who tells me a story, and I'm like, yeah, that was a shitty thing for him to do. But they don't talk about those kinds of things when they bring him up. They bring up shit they made up. They hold on to shit that just sounds.
But that's why I've stopped caring. It's the boy who cried wolf, literally. That's why I just at this point I don't give a shit. Yeah. Because if they're actually like, you know, there's already been, you know, presuppositions in my mind that a lot of stuff is being made up, a lot of stuff is bullshit, and it's just they're throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, and nothing's sticking. I know that, you know, it's at an all-time low as far as people like supporting that, and if something is going to actually like some sort of proof that something it would be all over the place, and I couldn't not see it. But other than that, I just don't care anymore. It's old hat. I still keep up with things. I find myself not caring because it's the same old song and dance. Oh, he did something bad. Okay, what did he do? This. Okay, and what proof do you have? Some guy said something sometime. Okay, I'm just gonna go over here now. Nice meeting you.
Just so you know, it's not going to be right away anyway, but my brother's friend is stopping by because I baked him a box of cookies because he's basically helped my brother out all year, and he's basically helped me out because he's helped him out all year. So I was like, the least I could do. He's got 8 different types of cookies in a box, and it took me 4 days, and my mom and I enjoyed every second of it. But man, baking last minute.
No, Elwin, probably not. Yeah, I mean, Armskiller, he got a phone call from Trump. You know, obviously, other world leaders called to congratulate him. You know, basically right now, excuse me. Other than the salt coming from the Ash Sarkars and Jeremy Corbyn's, who's still hanging on as fucking party leader, which, oh my god, you know, Andrew Scheer, as much as I hated him, like at least he learned. Corbyn just refuses to learn. The wheels are turning. You know, the transition is happening. The new MPs are coming in, and just the wheels are moving. No real big news as of yet, and we probably won't see anything substantial until the new year, when they'll you know, we'll get some whiffs of Brexit between now and then, but yeah.
I think part of the thing with Scheer is between some of the stuff he got caught in, like that last minute stuff. I was like, if you really think that that's why we kicked him out, that's not the reason. But I think for him, it's just more the knowledge that, like, in reality, even though Maxime lost like horribly, he has to know that if it wasn't for the fact that most people only voted for Scheer because they didn't think that Maxime could do it, we would have voted for Maxime.
Oh, and they just fucking hated Trudeau too, yeah.
You know, like the only reason that Maxime didn't get that second spot is because we just couldn't count on enough people voting for him. You know, because the thing with the Conservative Party is there are a lot of older people, and the older people, like, they stay on Facebook for like Farmville. They don't do anything else on the internet, so they don't know anything about anybody. Like, Maxime didn't have any field time in the media. He had maybe 1 week in the beginning and then nothing. So everyone.
Well, it's also near impossible for a new party to just spring up and,
yeah,
you know, look at the NDP. They took a long time to get any kind of foothold in the government, and, you know, they've never made a substantial splash, but they've made some splashes, especially around the Jack Layton era, but it's been on the decline again. And for Maxime to just come out the gate and you know, that's rough. But hopefully in the future we might see a seat here, a seat there. He said he's keeping strong. He's not rejoining the Conservative Party of Canada, the CPC. He's keeping with the People's Party.
And I think he's getting a lot of respect for it, because right now I think everyone is aware that there are problems in the Conservative Party. Like, we've been aware of it for a while. And Jason Kenney, honestly, I think he's running wild right now. I think he knows that he's either got to smarten up or he's got to start listening to people, because we will never go back to NDP. No matter how much she harps on about it, she's never going to be voted in. Yeah. But right now, he's got to fight for his party, because if we're not going to NDP and we're not going to the Liberals and we're not going to go to the Conservative Party, who else are we going to go to? And that's scary. That is really scary, because the alternative party is not the one we want.
Yeah, I mean, there's such, I mean, especially in a parliamentary system, there's such mobility that you might get candidates, you know, your local candidates, shift colors because of what the individual candidate moves towards. We're losing a lot of that, though. People tend to vote more along party and the you know, PM or whatever, but less so on their individual representative, which is something you should consider more, because they represent you, your district, your like, that's who you go through if you have concerns. That's who you write. You don't.
like, don't get me wrong, James. I'm really happy for you guys. I think things are going great. Like, I'm super stoked that Boris got voted in. If anything, just to throw a
Yeah,
little.
but for me, I mean, a lot of people are excited. A lot of people I watch on YouTube and listen to and respect the commentary, they're just happy because it's partisan politics. They're happy because he's conservative. I
That's
look
not
at
why
him
I'm
and I
happy.
see, well, no, I'm not. I'm just saying this is a lot of what I seem to be hearing. That could be very wrong, and I'm not saying it's everybody, but I was happy because I like Bojo as a candidate. I watch him in the House of Commons. I listen to him speak.
I'll be right back. Functional.
Sure, you take care of you. And I just like his policies, how he speaks, how he's and this is the only way I feel that he's even remotely like Trump, is that he's unabashed in what he wants to say. Like, if he wants to call people letterboxes because they look like fucking letterboxes without the political correctness of it all, good. We've been moving away from political correctness without being offensive. You don't want to walk around your city calling people, dropping N-bombs at people and calling people, like Asian people slurs and, using all these slurs. No, you don't want to do that. But you can make fun of people, a little friendly jib and jive. Hell, I make fun of... I'm a Jew. I make fun of people who wear the little fucking skull caps, the kippas, and the Orthodox ones with the funny hats and the payas, the little curls that come down by their ears. Yes, I know the name of it because I'm Jewish. But I'll make fun of them. I'll make fun of myself. I'm a fucking cripple. You can't make fun of yourself. You don't deserve to make fun of anybody else. So if somebody else makes fun of you, you just roll with the punches. And yes, of course, there are times when people are going to use words to attack and hurt you. So what? They're fucking words. Just brush that shit off your shoulder and move on with your day. Fuck them. Oh boy. It is Scotty. But it's not just that he's pro-Brexit and that he's got a strong cabinet behind him that is going to push for a strong Brexit. It's also like his policies. He's again, like Canadian and British conservatives, and I'm using air quotes, aren't as conservative as what you think of as a lot of like deep Republican conservatives, or because they fuck. I would say that they're almost more on a liberal side with a little bit more socially how can I word this? But fiscally conservative, but still recognize and appreciate the social programs that we have that are sort of working. You know what I mean? Like the NHS. Yes, I wish it was better, just like I wish our healthcare system was better, but it's still better than nothing. And I'm going to bring up an article as soon as Jen gets back, because Boris has already penned, and I can't believe it slipped my mind. He's already penned something like 39 billion increase in funding to the NHS. Yeah. NHS funding. Can hear the cookie delivery man. Yeah, this is new news from today. Let's see, we'll play the video after. Like I said, we'll bring up the article when she gets back. But Boris Johnson makes an entire cabinet recite debunked campaign lies about the NHS in unison. Ministers parrot misleading claims about new hospitals and nurses at PM's request. Boris Johnson made his ministers repeat campaign lies about the NHS in unison during his first cabinet meeting since the election. In a call and response exchange that resembled a school teacher addressing his pupils, Mr. Johnson... this is from The Independent, so the wording, it's making me sick. I don't even want to... how many new hospitals are we going to build? The Prime Minister asked his cabinet. 40, they replied, ignoring the fact the government has only put in place funding for building projects at 6 hospitals by 2025. So it seems like it's bluster. I don't know. Like I said, maybe we'll see it in the video. They allocated £2.7 billion for the 6 hospital projects. to fund extensions to existing buildings and as well as new buildings on separate sites. So, I mean, he isn't lying. He did say, I don't remember the number exactly, but he did, he had the big NHS bus saying, hey, you know what? We are going to invest more in the NHS because we realize that, yes, because of a lot of immigration problems that you've had, the system is strained. So we need to invest a little bit more, let people, give, he's probably going to be a little bit more stringent, especially with Brexit, with people coming in and using the system, sort of buckle down, tighten the belt, if you'll excuse the old adage, and let people assimilate, let the system catch up to the influx and be prosperous again. So yeah, I do agree with you that, you might be headed for another golden age. Or at least, a modern version of it, because we do live really well, better than any other time in the West, in the big three. We especially are living better and better and better. And yes, sometimes every now and then, our average birth rates or life expectancy dips here and there. That's just the way it goes, baby. Like, that's just statistics. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want to say it sucks because I've never had to rely on the NHS, just what I've read about it, Scotty, and what different people say. And I do understand it has a lot of problems. I can, from stuff that I've read, from what I can take in, I assume, and I can connect the dots at where the problems are. Like I said, one of the big things is just the overburden on the system makes the service a lot crappier, and that I can translate that to here in Canada and say, yeah, we're having a lot of the same problems as you are, like that, the overburdening. They're never going to be perfect systems, but like I said, you're right, it would be political suicide. It would cause so many problems. Like, you can't just overnight take away a socialized healthcare system. I believe that a modern audit style report on the NHS, the Canadian healthcare system, and just say, what can we do to make it better? Not just throw money at the issue. I'm not saying that they are, but there's this notion that if we just fund a government program, it'll get better. No, it's kind of an inefficient use of the money. But yeah, if it went away overnight, like, how many people would die? How would you make that transition as painless as possible to go to a completely privatized system? Like, that would just be, you'd have to revise all the taxes, because obviously a large chunk of our taxes, I know, go to our healthcare system. It's just a tricky situation. But again, I'm a liberal, so I believe that there is a place for social programs like that. And I don't know. It's a tough debate. It's something that we can go deep down the rabbit hole. I'd like to, because I'd like to learn a lot more about the NHS and people like you, Scotty, your experiences with it, other people's experiences with it, pointing me to articles or whatnot, expert opinions, these kinds of things. Because I find a lot of similarities, like I said, between the Canadian system, but I'm just not that up to speed on the entirety of the NHS. Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of making government as a whole less wasteful. And finding ways to do that, and first of all, let's talk, like, probably better men than myself and more connected, more learned people than myself. Like, I'm just some idiot ranting into a microphone on YouTube. But get experts and get these learned people sitting down, cross party lines, cross political beliefs, and just find out where the inefficiencies are. And yeah, not take efficiency to the nth degree, because that would not be good, but find healthy balances in things where we can bring it into the current year of 2020. Like, hell, we need to start using smart technologies more for these kinds of things. I've been to clinics where I've had to talk to a doctor through a screen. So why can't I do that at home? You know what I mean? So that maybe the doctor can sort of see, hey, doc, I got this rash on my collarbone. So they can actually sort of see and give you like, you know what? That doesn't look so bad. Just, leave it for a day or two, see what happens. Just don't scratch it. Or, oh, wow, that looks something, could be something. So either get to a clinic or get to a hospital and bring it up to the modern age. That's just one thing just off the top of my head that could help make waiting times more efficient, because then you don't have people going into the ER just for a cold or clogging up clinics, walk-in clinics, or your GP for a stubbed toe that you think, somebody might thinking that the discoloration might be like gangrene setting in or something, like it's just, little things, because not everybody's so well informed. So let's, again, just one quick idea off the top of my head, and I'm just a nobody. We can find these efficiencies. It wouldn't take a rocket surgeon to find inefficiencies in programs like the NHS and, here what's called OHIP, but it's a shame that Jen's gone so long. Hint, hint. I've ran out of coffee. My mouth is kind of dry, and I don't want to leave you beautiful, beautiful people with nothing but dead air for God knows how long. What are y'all saying in chat? Well, I know personally, like, obviously, I like the system for what it is. My system, Ontario's healthcare. But in order to get things like specialists, and more just outside of a GP, and finding a GP took me a while too. Luckily, I found a good one, when in my young 20s that I really liked, and I stuck with 2 office movings. So I like him. I keep with him. But for anything specialized, it does take quite a while, unless it's an emergency or something, which I really haven't had. But getting specialists for different things, it does take quite a while. I'll admit that. I would like it if it was a little bit faster and a little bit more efficient, but I'd rather go that way than losing it at all or going to a private system. I've dealt with a private system before, and I hated it. I fucking hated it. It was about nothing. It had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with the bottom line. So they skimped and cut corners and refused service and make you fight tooth and nail for anything. Yeah. I do have some laying around. The only problem is, James, I've made a couple video game reviews where I actually used completely original music that I made myself, compositions. I used to be a DJ, so I used to, in like electronic beats, in dance music, and rock and roll, hip hop. So I dabbled when the technology was there, readily available in my college. I dabbled a lot in just composing beats and tunes and different things, like from jazz to drum and bass to sort of rocky beats kind of thing. However, so I used it in some of my videos, and they all got flagged by BMG, and I refuted it, but I didn't want to fight it because it's just not worth it. Channel's just not that big to care, and it's not like I was getting money from it anyway. And once again, just a little toast to my better half, because she just brought me a frosty cold Coca-Cola. Take it easy, Noof. See you later. But yeah, so I mean, that with the that sucks. I don't mean to be taking a piss or anything, Scotty. But I do actually think that sucks. Like I said, for me to get mental health sort of stuff, it's taken me a few years, and I still haven't gotten what I want. I have had experiences with doctors that want to do that whole just put me on pills thing. I got another referral from my GP. I said, don't like it, move on to the next one. Don't like it, move on to the next one. My GP, we tried a couple different drugs. I said, none of this is really working. A lot of this is trial and error, and just kept having to keep fighting and keep up with it. Again, I don't know what your personal experiences are. I can only talk to mine. But I just keep fighting, and I just don't think I'm going to ever give up until I find something that I feel is going to be beneficial to me. Green sleeves? I don't know. And also, I'm not hosting, James, so I can't actually play anything. It would have to be Jen's doing. Sorry, that's just taking a bit longer than I think she was expecting. Next time, maybe we'll just, if she knows that something like this is going to happen, maybe we can just, I'll just host on my day, on my channel for that day instead. I don't know. But real life happens, and somebody who's come to her aid and really helped her and her brother out, as far as just help them out. I respect that. She's got a that's what I'm trying to say is that's real life shit happening. So we got to deal with real life before we deal with our virtual lives, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I do have some DRM free stuff. I can't play it right now. Not without probably splitting your ears with a lot of feedback. Gonna light a smoke though. But I don't know, a little bit. I guess we'll just shift it a little bit. And I spent a better part of yesterday, in fact, most of yesterday, while we were, while Elwin and I were, watching some TV, catching up on some TV shows. We were finishing off season 4 of The Expanse, a show I love. I know she likes it. Watched Zombieland 2. I was kind of a fan of the first one. I thought it was, a cute, funny take on, a modern zombie movie. The second one was more of the same. Just kind of, I kind of was almost bored. Had a few cool moments. I don't know. It was, didn't have to go out to the theater and waste money on it, but it was something. But through the better part of the day, while watching these, I had to reinstall because I want to replay Fallout 4. I had to reinstall the game and troubleshoot because even after I reinstalled, it wasn't working and blah, 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 blah. A whole bunch of troubleshooting. Finally got it to work. And I loaded up something like 325 individual mods. Got it running today. Got, built a character. And I'm going to stream that over the next few days while Elwin's over at the in-laws for Christmas, celebrating the Xmas because her nephews are the cutest little pudgy cheeks in the world. They're cute. Oh my God. Her nephews are just so rosy-cheeked and fun and funny and adorable. Here she is.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all good. It's all good. Real life happens, and that is real life, even though it's a happier occasion. Real life happens, and it supersedes this. Just telling the people what I was up to yesterday for the better part of the day, trying to get Fallout 4 to work. Loaded up like 325 mods, Jen.
Whoa!
And just today, finally today, got it all up and running and working. Going to do some streaming with that over the holiday season, just for some background noise and to talk to people and go through a fun game because there's going to be new content. Obviously, graphics packages to make it all look sexy and stuff. I've been talking with Noof and trying to get some not widgets. What are they called? Assets for my OBS stream. So, little animations and stuff and logo and, just cutesy stuff.
I might also have a side idea for a show I might do with you and Satsu and maybe one of our other cooks in the audience, because now that I've come in with my cookies and we're talking about pot, and I might be a little bit high too, but we should start a side show where we just talk about food.
I like talking about food, but I think you're just high.
Do you think I'm just high? I don't know. We could talk about recipes. I don't know. I just maybe one day where we'll just bring in everybody who likes to talk food, and we'll just have a talk about food showdown. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you brought up the article. What the hell just happened to my cat?
I just made Elwyn hungry.
So yeah, we were talking about the differences in the amount of money your province, Alberta, and my province, Ontario, have made relative to their population and blah, blah, blah. But I finally found an article, a recent one, about Saskatoon, how they've been doing with it. And they've got a very small population compared to Ontario and, quite a bit smaller than you guys as well. I think, half the population?
Yeah, I'd say that. I think they're
Saskatchewan versus Alberta.
I think they're just a little bit short of us, because I remember seeing it from the election. So I think we're 3.9 million, and I think they're 3.1 million. So they are short, but not by much.
Yeah. Okay. So StatsCan released their Saskatchewan report, and they did roughly about 38 million was spent on it. That's not the draw, but that was what was spent. And compared to what we said about Alberta spending, 195 million, 56 million in Manitoba in about the same period. And if we're talking per capita, Saskatchewan residents spend about $32 per person. Alberta spends about 45, and Manitoba spends about 41. In comparison, people in Yukon spent about 103 per person on recreational cannabis in the first year of legalization. However, people in BC spent just about $10 per person because they like their sweet, sweet Lady H. From what I understand, and just looking at the numbers and following the money, the reason why that is, and same reason here in Ontario why it's not so strong, is because the black market is still doing way, way better.
So I have this, I am interrupting you for nonsense, but it's really funny nonsense. So if anybody out there knows somebody who makes mods, specifically ones for 7 Days to Die, they need to make one for Satsu and Monkey that gets the zombies high. So they're super hungry and they're high.
Super high zombies. I don't know much about 7 Days to Die, and especially in its current incarnation, but I wonder if there is like a stoner zombie or something.
Like a stoner zombie. There's got to be a stoner zombie. It would just be like this guy just stumbles along and he's like, hey.
So we got like this little graph here, and it shows, in millions of dollars, the different provinces and how much they spend. And I believe, where's legalization? Oh, it starts right off there. Okay. So the bottom line is Saskatchewan makes sense. They're a smaller province. They're more of a rural province overall. So kind of stands to reason. Recreational pot use is mostly done in more urban areas, where I would assume you have less physical labor overall. So, less physically stimulating labor, I should say. So maybe you want to, use something to, I don't know. I'm just talking on my ass now. The second dotted line, the gray line here, is Ontario. We can see, about the beginning of last year, it just kind of rose, sort of spiked here, and then just kept climbing to pretty much dominate everybody. Next is Quebec, and that's this orange line here, kind of, on the same sort of graph as Ontario, but a little bit, but less overall in the millions, because probably just due to size, really. We're, as you can see from like the election and stuff, politically we're very, very similar. So I would assume that culturally, socially, we're very similar as well. We do like our weed, but we tend to follow a lot of the same trends. It's pretty much almost the same culture, just a complete different language. This next one is Alberta. Again, sort of, over Quebec, over Quebec, over Quebec. And it stays strong. And like I've been saying, for just the sheer number of people,
Mm-hmm.
the returns from Alberta have been incredible. Like, this is all per capita, but the just because you're like 1/4 of all our and probably 1/3 Quebec's population, you're just fucking dominating the pot market here. Go Alberta. Like, it just whether it comes to fucking disgusting oil in the ground that needs, new ways to refine it to make it better and cleaner, to dealing with legalization, Albertans just seem to get elbow deep and get shit done.
It could be that, but it could be another reason entirely. So the other thing I don't know the numbers to is
The Homer.
how much of this number gets skewed when you realize a lot of people are ordering their pot online? Because most of the people that I know,
no, these are just the government statistics. So from licensed retailers.
Yeah.
So in Ontario, up until recently, you could only legally, not that people did, get from certain dispensaries that were basically LCBOs, liquor stores, but for pot.
Yeah.
They since did away with that. They're now actually letting people just become licensed retailers, like private businesses become licensed retailers. So we're going to see the number go way the fuck up. I don't know what it's like in other provinces, but that's a big reason why, because of our population, we're the biggest province in the country, population-wise, why we haven't been doing so well is because people rely on the black market because it was still cheaper. It was still easier to get it.
Yeah.
Like I fucking go online, log in, boom. I have everything there, screenshots of all the different buds, separated by, indica, sativa, hybrid, shatter, edibles, what have you.
Yeah.
I can go order it, and within a couple hours, it's at my door. And it's cheaper than anything I could get at the pot shop, the Ontario pot shop anyway.
Yeah.
Which has had another problem of they just didn't have the stock. They didn't have enough. There were lineups. They were running out of product, and the service was horrible. Nobody at the store knew what they were getting. And one of the, if you're going to run a storefront in this fucking modern world, competing against, I don't care what business you're in, if you're competing with the Amazons of the world, the eBays of the world, all these online retailers of the world, and delivery services, you got to have something at your storefront. You've got to have that knowledge, that person to person. And this is what I'll give Apple. You can jump in just a second here. This is what I'll give Apple, is that when you go to the Apple store, you get your fucking customer service from a geek who knows his product. And that's the kind of customer service stores need to be giving in today's age. So, sorry, what are you going to say?
Well, that's just what I mean. Like, you would think that from a company that runs a beer store, you would know how to set up a different product. Like, I understand that means a little bit of research. Okay, this and this and this and this and this and this are all things that are vital to pot. So we have to have these covered. Like, there's always if you want to label it, the 5 basics for this item that you're trying to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you go to a beer store or a wine store, you're going to have like all the paraphernalia. You're going to have, like the packaging for it in case.
Well, I can walk into a liquor store and say, I'm going to be having steak. Can you recommend something? They'll be like, oh yeah, this red. Or, I want to mix Manhattans. What's in a Manhattan? And they'll say, okay, well, you get this, you get this. They'll be able to tell you about the different products. Oh, okay, well, I want to make vodka martinis.
Right.
What vodka is good for that? They'll be like, okay, well, there's this one, the Stoli, which is, and it's got notes of this, and they can tell you about the product.
Yeah.
They know the product.
So, like, why is it that big a deal to do the same thing for pot? And it really isn't. Like, even if you weren't a pot person, like, even if the guy who ended up with the company was like, okay, shit, now I'm having to do this.
I'll tell you exactly why. Just to cut you off, sorry. It's government contracts.
Yeah,
because more and more they've been consolidating smaller liquor stores and beer stores into larger, like grocery store sized liquor stores and beer stores here in Ontario, at least. They've been needing fewer and fewer people with automation of the checkouts, which I don't think that they could do because they need to charge you. I don't know. Anyway, but they need fewer and fewer people. Where are they going to send these people? Because these people are A, government employees, and B, unionized. They can't just mass lay off people. They'll be fucking hell to pay. That's the stranglehold these fucking unions have on government fucking run business. It's disgusting.
Yeah, see, like those kind of things really need to be addressed, because like it's not just bad for the business, it's also bad for the employees. Like, that makes it difficult to do your job. It's like when I go to my pot store, like the people that work there are very pleasant. They're all potheads. You can tell that they love the product. Do they know everything about it? No. But they have enough of that enthusiasm that you know that they're learning all the time, which is what you
for sure, yeah.
That's what you want to see in an employee. Like, especially, some of them are young, some of them are older, some of them are more experienced, some of them are not as experienced. But they all have those stages of like, this is perfect to have in this kind of a setting.
I don't think I've really gone in. Well, there have been some bad ones, but I don't think I've really gone into any of the ones that I've frequented and liked and went back to. Not only because of different factors of the price point, but because I can walk in and say, oh, hey, my man, how's it going? Feeling kind of sluggish today. I just need something to keep me perked up and keep me happy all day. And and they'll recommend this, or, hey, I just need something to just get wasted and game, or my bones are fucking killing me today. Give me something for the pain. They will say, okay, you want this. Not even a select, like, a selection, because they kind of know me already. They're like, bam, you want this one. This one's going to kill you fucking pain. Or, this one is going to get you nice and toasty without making you retarded so you can game, like, again, what I was referring to with the storefronts in their professionalism, knowing the product.
Yeah, exactly.
They have that advantage over, an online retailer.
That's where these guys are doing well. Like, it's like even the New Leaf that I used to go to, it's just the location's better for the one I go to now. Like they were all people you could tell that they picked up off the street who smoked pot. That makes a load of difference. Like I said, they're not necessarily they're not like the Cheech and Chong of the pot world, but
they are out there though. Yeah.
But they know what the hell they're talking about, and it's like I can have a conversation and complain about a product with these guys, and that's actually really important too, because these guys at least talk to the manufacturers. So a little thing that they didn't, a lot of them haven't mentioned to you, and I'm going to pass it along to you because I just learned this too. If you ever did go to a store and you got a product that was crap, take a picture of it. Treat it like you would a restaurant, because the pot companies are trying to do their research right now. Like, they're trying to figure out, okay, where are we going wrong? What should we be doing here and here? If you've had like an experience that was bad, post it online. And they told me if there should be a website on the receipt, or it should be on the package of the product.
Yeah.
And you just send them your review, your picture of the product, and they will send you either a gift card for more pot or an Amazon gift card. So
I've had good experiences with, like I said, the ones that I use.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, if there was ever a problem, boom, it's taken care of.
Yeah.
That customer service again, it's the private industry. For lack of a better word, trumping the government overreach. They could have done it right. They literally could have, by employing these same people that they were living in the gray area before legalization, the dispensaries and whatnot. Just say to them, hey,
Mhm.
Either if they wanted to do it from the government angle, they should never do it. But they should say, hey, we understand that you guys are doing this, technically illegally, but with legalization around the corner, we want to hire you into and bring you into the government dispensary program instead of alienating these people and treating them like criminals.
The other thing that they went wrong with too, and here's the thing, I don't favor the smoke companies, but some of the smoke companies could have handled the pot too. There are some that...
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, dude, big companies like Demore, Benson and Hedges, they're doing this shit. They've got shit ready to roll out.
Mm-hmm.
They've built the machines because obviously you don't want them the same size as cigarettes. It's a different roll. It's a different process.
Yeah.
You want them smaller, and it's a different product. So it's going to be a different, anyway. So they invested in this stuff. As soon as it started looming, they're ready to roll it out. I don't know what's taking so long. Maybe they're getting it all produced or getting the what's it called, the supply lines finalized or what have you, but they are ready to go,
and it'll be fine when they do. Like it's one thing, like I said, I know that the smoke companies are not angels. They definitely have many skeletons in their closet, and they still do.
Yeah,
but they know how to handle their product. I don't have a problem with them handling pot.
If they can do it right, they do it right. I mean, again, I believe in an open market. Sink or swim. Sink or swim. You let them, let the big guys, just like the private entrepreneurs, the little guys, you let them both out onto the playing field, and whoever sinks and whoever swims, all the more power to them.
And that's just that's kind of what I was hoping for with the pot in the first place. It was just it was the only thing out of Trudeau that I was hoping was at least he got the door open so that we could work on it on our own, because that's all the pot community ever really wanted. And it's why I was so
double-edged sword with that, though, because I'll give him credit for actually enacting decriminalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
But he just used it as a political tool.
Oh, yeah, he totally did. He did. He used it as the dangling carrot.
He bought a lot of votes. He bought my vote with it.
Like, that's
but,
just...
I mean, on a personal level, and I've told you this before, he bought my vote more with the fact that he was going to do electoral reforms. Because that was more important than whether or not I could be busted for having a joint on the street or in my home.
Yeah.
I have dealt with it in my life, but voter reform oh my God, that was such a letdown, and I will never ever trust him again. And his cabinet and the people behind it, I'll never trust him again.
Well, we all know the real reason he didn't change it, right?
Because it's what's keeping them in power. Anyway,
you've got an article.
Why did the alligator cross the road?
To get to the shoe?
Because it's fucking Montreal and the fuckers are fucking crazy. Escaped alligator spotted crossing the street in Montreal's Villeray neighborhood. If you saw an alligator crossing Jerry Street on Sunday afternoon, you weren't imagining things.
Poor guy.
So he escaped from a exotic animal company who were transporting it, and decided to go for a little jaunt across the street. He's such a cute little guy. If I was these people in the car, I'd be fucking freaking. But at the same time, I would probably also pull my car around to ensure that nobody's going to
hit it,
because I'd want him to be protected and call animal control right away. If I mean, this is somebody just snapping pictures of the alligator, but there could be off camera the people trying to or who are responsible for it, But so about midday, the animal made a break for the van's automatic door as it was closing. It crossed the street, hit under a car. Some pedestrians were attracted to it, which is people. you see a fucking alligator or any other large carnivore, don't start crowding around it, you dumbasses. One of the bystanders says, it took a few seconds for my brain to comprehend what was happening. Well, no shit. These things aren't exactly native to Canada. Look at him go.
He must have been so cold.
He's so cute. Yeah. He must have been freezing. That's why he probably immediately went for the car, because just like, in winter, you have to check your wheel wells and undercarriage for cats and other wildlife. There's a residual heat, and being a cold-blooded animal, they'll immediately seek out that heat.
Yeah.
You can see she was moving very, very slowly because it was cold, and obviously, they're alligators. Unless they're chasing prey, they don't really tend to run very fast. Yeah, she said the alligator was calm and moving very slowly. She remembers hearing at some point that when reptiles are cold, they don't move very fast. So she wasn't scared it would attack her. Even when they're cold, if she was hungry, dude, she would have, went for your ankles. She would have tried to snap. Employees quickly captured the animal and returned to the van before officers arrived at the scene. Good. Initially, Montreal police identified the animal as a crocodile. It is, in fact, an alligator. Oh, I want to see that again. He's just so cute. That's so cute. Yeah, look at those people riding by in their car. Just like, I would have stopped and I would have been like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, like, wait, what? Am I drunk? What was in my water this morning? Did somebody spike my coffee? Yeah, it's cute.
And another quick one while we're on the wonderful world of aminals.
All right.
There was a Nikon competition for, like the small world in motion. And these are the winners. So 5th place is a mouse embryo forming. Look at all those like tiny little cells. I know it's going to be a little behind, but it's some really cool stuff. 4th place was 2 tardigrades, also known as water bears. They're feasting on one of their own. So you can see that there's 2 of them just sort of suckling on one and eating him while he's still alive. Vicious little fuckers. A microorganism in 3rd place, using little water vortexes to try to trap some prey. Really cool.
Huh. Well, that's cool.
It almost looks like a fish in how it moves with the little hairs at the end of its body.
Yeah.
2nd place, a parasite emerges from its dead host. A marine plankton.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody in the watching us right now has watched at least one of those videos of an animal like a bug that's been possessed by a parasite.
Look at him go! And in first place, a polyp bursting out of a bright green coral. This one's really fucking cool.
There she blows.
And I just thought it was cool because I'm a huge fan of photography and the arts. No secret there. I thought that was really cool. Just like a really nice slice of life, because it's something that we don't generally see a lot of. And following in the tradition of, or the current tradition of aminals, Ontario man skating on frozen lake rescues 3 deer. So in Toronto, an Ontario man said he was skating on his lunch break when he came across 3 deer stranded on a frozen lake, and he decided to take action. Ryan Peterson knew he had to act fast once he spotted the animals while he was skating on a lake of the woods near Kenora, Ontario. He went back to work, grabbed some rope, and rustled up these deer. You can see here in this image. He, gave him a little, not really like a noose, but like a harness around the neck area, neck and shoulders. And because they can't stand, their legs are so narrow, they can't stand on the ice. It's too slippery. So they couldn't get off the ice. So he basically had to drag them away on the ice. And not going to have any audio, but you can fast forward. He comes across them, puts them in a, you can see from the markings on the ice, they've been struggling for some time. And they're just looking at him like, the fuck is going on, dude? And then pulling him, they're kind of struggling against him, but it's just as he's taking off the harness, the deer is still quite fucking calm.
They're probably half stunned. They're just like, what the hell?
Yeah, they are. But they're, once they realize that he's not coming to hurt them, they're just completely chill and at ease with him helping them. And as he pulls them all together,
they're not dumb animals. They're, they are, but they aren't.
No, he's just reacting instinctively, like, oh, somebody's pulling me, and they've probably seen some shit. With deer hunting and whatever. But it was just kind of a cute story of, like we were talking about. Yeah, they're not endangered or anything, but it's kind of like if you can intervene and do some good for the animals, yeah, sure, why not? Kind of a cute little thing. What you got?
I've got my lighter. I have another 2 articles that I could do. So the first one does go back to Trudeau, but I don't know if you read it or not.
Probably not.
It's not exciting, guys. It's just, Trudeau begins his second term. Let me just share that. And that makes it
probably a lot of the same that I was talking about Bojo, how basically they're just doing, the transition thing. It's okay, we just won the elections, a little bit of downtime. The deer are vermin there?
They're much deeper in the red.
But it's so delicious.
Well,
delicious. Of course, because they're fucking... They're just throwing money in. This is exactly what I was talking about when we were talking about with the NHS guys.
Yeah.
Trudeau's the type of asshole a politician who just fucking throws money at a problem and hopes that it helps. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. You actually have to have action behind the money. A plan.
Yep. Canada's projected deficit grows by another 35 billion Canadian dollars over the next 5 years, which, we predicted that for a while. The finance chief says debt to GDP ratio will continue to decline. I highly doubt that. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government released new budget estimates that show federal finances in much worse shape than expected. Well, they were really bad before he began. But at least this time he can't blame everything on Harper. Even before the Liberals move ahead with tens of billions of dollars in a new campaign pledges, the government is currently on track to run a deficit of $26.6 billion from Canadian 19.8 billion table class terminal news story target blank. I don't know what the hell that is. I don't think they meant to write that in there. Oh, okay, guys. Okay, Bloomberg. Okay, Bloomberg. Maybe I should send this one to Scribe just to watch him twitch, This year... Okay, we're going to skip to this. So 20.2 billion this year and Canadian 28.1 billion in 2020, according to a fiscal update released Monday in Ottawa by Finance Minister Bill Morneau. That's above 19.8 billion and 19.7 billion deficits projected in the government's last year budget. Deficits in the 5 years between 2019 and 2023 will exceed projections about 35 billion, basically. I don't like
totally right, Scotty.
It's like you talk
Let's just add more to the debt. It'll fix itself, right?
That's what he thought. The balance will balance itself.
The budget will balance itself. Yeah, famous. They weren't even last words. This is what's so fucking frustrating, that we have a politician like that, a leader of a fucking party who is this stupid, this incompetent, and people are still fucking voting for him. Why? Because they read on Facebook that Doug Ford bad, Andrew Scheer's a Nazi. Who's your PM again? Forget his name.
Jason Kenney.
Jason Kenney's a fucking white supremacist.
Fuck
off. This is fucking bullshit. Enough with the fucking American fucking narratives. Go fuck right off. This is why I fucking hate. This is one of the reasons why I fucking hate social media, because those fucking disgusting ideas like just spread. Ugh. And they can even be shot down because people just won't listen. They read it in the Facebook feed and they think, oh, well, I guess it's true.
Yeah, I'm going to skip a little bit ahead
I'm
because
not going to look.
they're just talking bullshit numbers up there. But it will be a difficult balancing act. Oh, don't worry. I'm mad too. Like the minute that you start talking big dollars like that, and you know that they're in his hands, and you're just like, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to be so bad that I don't know. Not only must he finance his own ambition campaign pledges, he may also need to accommodate new demands from provinces and opposition parties. At the same time, he's trying to reassure Canadians. No, he has. He has not. He has not done anything to reassure anybody. He's gone. What? He went sailing in BC. Was it snow?
No, but I mean, he's released statements. There's been videos. You know, he's been on the news, whatever. But it's all just empty words.
Mm-hmm.
All bullshit.
The government remains fiscally prudent by keeping debt as a share of the economy on a declining path. The Prime Minister gave me a mandate where he asked me to ensure that we meet a couple of key conditions, Mornay told reporters outside the legislature. One is that we do maintain that very strong balance sheet by reducing our debt as a function of our economy, and we're doing that. Second is we want to continue to invest in Canadians. Then stop sending our money to foreigners. Sorry. Was I not supposed to say that? Wow. Stop sending it to Sweden. I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to accuse Sweden. You know what? I can't accuse anybody else. But you know what? We can point fingers at Sweden. Stop sending money. She don't need your money. One consolation is that the federal government's deficit levels are low compared with its peers. If Monday's revenue projections turn out to be correct, Canada's deficit next year may surpass the 30 billion threshold for the first time since 2010, but that will still be just 1.3% of GDP. The update deficit numbers include the personal income tax break that Marnier introduced last week, and which will take effect January 1st. The measure would gradually raise the basic personal income tax deduction by about 20% over the next 4 years, costing $3 billion in 2020 and about $6 billion by 2023. Actuarial adjustments to pensions and other benefits added $4.9 billion in spending in 2019 and about $28 billion over 5 years. Other additional expenses since March's budget include $1.9 billion this year, related to the renewal of a revenue sharing agreement tied to Hibernia offshore oil. Hi. Is that what they called it? Okay. Project in Newfoundland. Deficits are widening even as the federal government's revenue comes in slightly stronger than expected in 2019 and 2020. Revenue in 2019 is seen at $340 billion up to $338.8 billion projected in March. In 2020, the federal government expects to take in $352.3 billion versus initial projections of $351.4. Program expenses are well above projections, however. And then it just goes in. No, they just threw that in there. Read more. Scheer quits his tour. Why are you throwing that in the middle of another story? All right. At the press conference, Mornier reiterated his government's pledge to keep the nation's debt to output ratio on a declining path, though that's becoming an increasingly tough target to meet. The ratio projected at 31% in 2019 and 2020 in the current outlook will only increase given Trudeau's spending plans, blah, blah, blah. The nation's AAA credit ratings, the government's 2 budget anchors. The new deficit numbers already surpassed the peak budget. So yeah, we're going to be in even more debt. We're in more debt. I want you to kiss your bank account goodbye. And expect absolutely that they're going to find other stuff to tax us on to, get more.
Yeah.
That's how they roll. All right.
Well, in more Trudeau news,
Woo!
he wants to buy back rifles to curb gun violence. Yes, gun violence is a thing. It is caused with handguns in urban areas, not with rifles out in the sticks. You fucking... And you know what? I'm going to play a couple snippets of this video because it's funny to listen to what Rob Ford has to say about gun violence.
You can't have these gangbangers out on the street shooting up the streets. And then
literally just calls them gangbangers shooting up the streets. Love it. Love it. Fucking sometimes he's a buffoon, but fuck yeah, don't fucking sugarcoat it. Tell it how it is.
Go to so many different areas, into communities, into more education, into childcare, into
where he wants to put the money.
Housing, affordable ownership.
And put his efforts into those things like affordable housing, healthcare, do more for these social programs that the liberals have fucked over by overburdening, by just throwing money at it, by making them less efficient. And when the community does well, business does well too, and it'll trickle up. It'll help.
If you have a bear where there shouldn't be a bear, do what Elwyn says. Call animal control. Unless you're the guy with the gun. Unless you're the guy with the gun.
Shoot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was living out in Northern Ontario, yes, if there was a bear around my cabin or in my cabin, not that there ever was, but around, if it got too close, I would have fucking grabbed my rifle and shot it.
I think that's the problem, James.
Good eating.
Is a lot of people are thinking like I'm thinking. So, like, I live in a city. Is it unknown for a bear to come into my city? No, it's happened before. It's actually happened a couple times before. Is it rare? Yes.
But because you live in the city, there's animal control.
There's animal control. So, I mean,
when you're living out in the sticks, it's not real animal control. There's, there's
nothing.
You kill it or it kills you, and then you call animal control and they'll pick up the carcass if you don't want it. But if you didn't want it, then what's wrong with you? Like I said, that bear was good eating.
It's just one of those things that you have to explain to people that live in the city that, like, when you call animal control in the city, they're there in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And if you're talking a bear, probably sooner than that, if they can.
Yeah.
Because they're not far away. But if you're out in the middle of nowhere, it takes them that long to get there. And you don't know what that bear is going to be able to do. A bear is capable of breaking a hell of a lot of shit. You'd be surprised at what they can knock down. So you could be in your house thinking, oh, I'm fine. And you probably would be if the bear is not interested in you. But he could also stalk you afterwards. You don't know. It depends on if it's hungry or not.
So I got a few more, mostly about the Ford government, our provincial government. It's a conservative government. Doug Ford, the guy we were just watching, is our oh God, what do you call them again? I just had a brain fart. Premier. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ. So one thing he did, he's canceling the Hamilton light rail trans. People are obviously upset about it, but it's a failing it's a failing city. Almost all the manufacturing's gone. So what was once colloquially known as Steel City, because a lot of steel production happened there, has kind of died down. There's not a lot there. So to invest in a light rail, in a subway, basically, in a small city that doesn't really need it, and the investment isn't going to show any returns, is a bad move. Again, thanks to the Liberals just throwing money at something, and their further backroom deals with Metrolinx, who I've talked about on the show before, Toronto's company that does all the fucking subway stuff here now. It's a lot of backroom deals. It's a lot of them paying off the politicians to get these contracts that aren't needed. And like we were just talking about on the federal level with all this deficit, Ontario has its own deficit, and this makes good sense. the transportation minister, Caroline Mulroney, said the planned LRT line would cost far more than promised and leave provincial taxpayers on the hook because there would not be any returns.
They tried that with us too. They really tried that with us too, because we were initially supposed to have a change to our trains. So it was one of those things where like we wanted more cars on the train lines, so like instead of it being 3 cars, it would be 4. So each train would be able to carry that many more people. And we were okay with that. So, they spent a really long time extending the tracks so that, the platform would be able to hold that many people, that
just out of curiosity, was this Metrolinx?
I think it might have been.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd have to look it up, but I think it might have been. And at the time it was, they weren't wrong. Like we did want some of them to be bigger because our rush hour was busy enough that it did warrant maybe a little extra space.
Yeah. But I mean, in your case, it's the need for the subway, not the subway to create the need.
Yeah. See, the thing with that though, is we got ripped off with it.
Yeah, of course, Metrolinx. Yeah, they again, like I said, they literally bribe politicians for if there was a bid for these things, there would be other companies who could do it cheaper and quicker, but because places all over Canada are bought out, the politicians are bought out by Metrolinx, they can overcharge, take much longer, and still get away with it. I don't fucking understand it. This is a clear-cut case of political corruption, and we don't do anything about it. At least Ford, with his, I hate drawing these comparisons. He's not a politician, so that's the only way that he tends to speak very bluntly, very plainly, like Trump. I hate drawing those comparisons. But he's the outsider who speaks very plainly. And when he says, gangbangers, you won't find a refined politician calling people gangbangers. But they are gangbangers. That's where our gun violence is coming from. It's somewhat of a disappointment, but also it's a good and bad story. But student activist celebrates Doug Ford's backtrack on sex ed. I touched on it briefly in another stream, how the previous Liberals were showing kids, very young children, a curriculum for sex ed that was inappropriate. Even for someone as liberal as me, it was highly inappropriate. But there was, initially Ford scrapped a lot of it. There was some pushback, because he took the pendulum way to the other side. I'll admit it. He scrapped it. No, we need reforms. They came to some sort of eventual resolution and said, instead of conversations about gender identity happening in grade, 6, they're going to do it in grade 8 now. So at 13 instead of at 11. Okay. I can deal with a bit of a compromise like that. Gender identity, they're just starting their teens. Sure. Yeah, why not? There's some other things that, they made concessions on, which is good. It shows that we can get past our political biases. We cannot go too far, let the pendulum swing too far one way, and kind of meet, somewhere in the middle on things and get things done in a more or less appropriate manner.
The one
and
thing I
it's
will
Ford.
say,
It's
I will
Ford.
say, against what you said, and it's mostly because I do follow people like Blair, just because she's one of the few that I know that is pretty honest about everything. Like, I don't favor her for everything because I know some people don't like that she's so catty.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things she said is just like, as long as they're doing it responsibly, I don't have a problem. Like, they're actually giving those kids proper evaluations, because a lot of the problems that I'm seeing with the age group and allowing the kids to do stuff is a lot of the words that are pushing for it aren't. I don't think they're doing that. I don't think that they're
Mhm.
giving them that proper evaluation, especially when you're 13. Like if you're 13 and you're talking like that, they can wait 2 years and you would still be able to effectively change stuff.
Yeah.
The fact is they push it so quick that you could have a kid who's just having like that level of midlife crisis, because let's be real, kids at that age are having a life crisis, like they are going through an identity crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really want to have them doing that program for at least 2 years to be for sure. If that's the case, then yeah, I agree with you. I have no problem with it being changed.
But
you know?
but the other great thing, in my opinion, that he changed to make it's a more heavy emphasis on here we go. The PC curriculum also introduces conversations on vaping and opioids and puts a greater emphasis on mental health.
Yes. That's
Okay. This is great. But you have some more social conservatives feeling, the political conservative, more far right leaning people accusing Ford of lying to voters. And no, he didn't, because Doug Ford basically said, parents are having concerns about the previous government, liberal government's curriculum. True. He changed it. He scrapped it. True. But then he came back to the table because, again, his constituents said, well, no, you can't just scrap it. We need something. And he said, okay, well, we'll go back to it and we'll tweak it so that, like I said, sexual orientation will be taught in grade 5 at 10 years old. I have no problem with that. As opposed to at 6 years old?
Yeah. What, it's weird?
A 6-year-old doesn't know what a gay is.
It's like that.
A 10-year-old will start seeing them, and it'll actually clue in. Oh, my buddy Jamie has 2 dads? Well, that's kind of weird. I wonder why that is. And yeah, they'll be more aware of these things. A fucking 6-year-old won't care.
Well, it's like that episode of South Park where Mr. Garrison is teaching the what is it, elementary kids about sex positions, because they're forcing the kids to learn about sex ed in like the 3rd grade class because somebody saw a condom or something. Or
yeah. I think just overall this is just a better product. Like they took the ideas of the liberals from the previous government and gave a better product. People might disagree with the numbers, the actual ages or whatever, but at least it's a little bit more reasonable. Like I can look at these new numbers and say, yeah, that's more reasonable. And vaping and opioids and the dangers of pornography and sexting and all these things that the liberals didn't even include are now being introduced, and it's way better. I can't believe that they did something so good, because generally with the conservatives, I don't like their social policies. But again, it's Ford. It's the outsider, the non-politician who got into office and is doing things instead of talking. Complete juxtaposition with fucking True Dope over there. And finally, with the Ford thing, another great idea that I think that they're pushing forward, campus life threatened, student group says, is of Ford's opt-out initiative at Ontario universities and colleges. So previously, I need access to the account. Well, it's a good thing I know what this is about, because previously when you pay your tuition at an Ontario university or college, every part of a dollar, like at the beginning of the article here, 15 cents for the food bank, a quarter for sexual education and peer counseling, blah, 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 not on the dollar, but this is what comes out of the tuition, so you have to pay for all the social programs, all the clubs on campus. This is giving people, as students, a chance to lessen their financial burden, lessen their tuition by opting out of a lot of, basically saying to the student, well, here's all the programs. Which ones would you like to contribute to? I think it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but again, it's allowing a free market of ideas. We're not talking monetarily. Yes, it does have monetary implications, but this is the freedom of ideas to sink or swim. Like, is a club or a program going to do well, like their newspaper, like their sex ed program? Is it going to do well? Probably. And sure, people will buy into that. People will support it. Look at YouTube, man. Like, people support there's free content all over the fucking place, and people support it because they believe in the product. And just like that, like, this is teaching a very good lesson to these guys, these students, these children, like, basically for all intents and purposes, these children just going to their college or university, the responsibility they have as a member of society, as a consumer, to support what you believe in, support the groups and things you might use or just believe in and support. So I think that this is another great win for my provincial government. And you know what? With all this news constantly coming out of what was once my political opposition on a lot of things, is really making me feel less and less, what's the word? Sort of like not a bit of shame, but for lack of a better word, shame for jumping parties, because they're the ones becoming more liberal, more focused on the individual and the rights and freedoms of an individual and the rights to choose as an individual. They're being more liberal. They're acting more like a true liberal. Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, it's just my province on my provincial level. I can't speak to the rest of Canada, but these are good things. These are really good things. So how could I not be more in favor of my provincial Conservatives?
Well, you know what I got to say though, like, this is something that I remember people saying, is sometimes the parties change. You know, sometimes the parties do change. And it's one of those things where I think that's something that we're actually seeing happening, because the left now, like, they've taken things so far that they are the kooky religious ones. I mean, it might not be based off of religion, but
they're not a Judeo-Christian, but it is a religion. It is a cult mentality.
And that's why people are pulling away. It's like I said, nobody likes to be treated like a sheep. I am not a sheep.
Or an infant, or that you don't have any agency. Look at the positive aspects of how personal freedoms affect people on an individual level. They're happier, they're healthier, they're more productive. The economy does better. Life expectancy goes up. So why the fuck not? And I found something just for James Woodwright. Found a bear video. Once again, a typical day in Canada for most of us who don't live out in the major cities. This cute little looks like a female bear decides to stop and say hello to these fine motorists. Uh-oh, there's doggos. He's just saying hi. A good indication of if the bear is in a good mood. Yankee Candle, fuck off. Is his ears are up. He's alert. He's kind of more in a interested mood than a hungry mood. If he was hungry, his ears would be down and to the side, like so. If he wants to get aggressive,
he's just curious.
He just wants to. He sees the puppers. He's like,
As I
"Woo!"
was leaving, I saw bear poop. Is that okay to say?
Bear poop
on the ground, and I took a picture of it because
you took a picture of the bear poop.
I thought it was a big animal, so I took that.
Hold on. Okay, I gotta pause it here. I have a problem with this in our society. I really do, and I don't know why, because it seems a little irrational. But people seem to need to take pictures of everything just because you have the ability to take pictures of everything, like your fucking ugly kids or bear poop or a pigeon. Like, you don't need to. When you're at a concert, you don't need to be taking pictures. You don't need to be taking video. Live in the now. Appreciate what's going on. You don't need to take pictures of every fucking goddamn last thing in your life. Sure, yeah, take the important moments. Something bad happens, get some evidence. I understand that. But it just seems like some people, or the majority of people with their smart devices, just need to photograph everything.
Yeah, my mom did that. She took a picture of because they had this place out in BC. They still technically do, but they're selling it now. And I think it was like the second year that they lived out there. They had berry trees, like not berry, fruit trees. So it was a pear tree and a plum tree. So one year a bear got through the fence, like it just broke through a hole. And he was just like, you know what? This is lovely. I got some plums here. I'm just gonna sit and snack. So my parents come by and there's this thing is a colossal poop. Like you could tell the bear had been there for a while. It was just in the one spot. So my mom takes this picture because she's just like, Jesus, how big is this bear? And she sends it to both her kids because we're just like, Dad has a gun, right? Like he has a legit gun.
Oh, I thought you would have been like, Mom, I think you need to see a doctor. First of all, why are you pooping outside? And second of all, holy crap, that's a lot of crap.
I mean, I'm sure my brother made those jokes. You know, for me, it was just like, because my mom's done that before. You know, she's been by herself, and my dad's been out of town, and she's like, "Yeah, there's a bear in our yard," and I'm just like, "Are you by yourself?" And she's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Is the dog inside?" She's like, "Yes." And then I get no response for her for 24 hours, and I'm like, "So then what happened?" And she's like, "Nothing. He was gone by the time Dad got back." And I'm just like,
"Duh, that's usually what happens. They don't really see us as food unless they're starving. Bears really, or and typically they'll only really, Canadian brown bears at least will only really attack if you're a threat to them, and if they're with their cubs. One day I was on the way back from, I think I was going to the LCBO in the grocery store, going back to my cottage, and there were 3 baby bears on the road. I was walking. I didn't really use my car to just go grocery shopping. It was a bit of a trek, but so first of all, I have food on me. Second of all, these are baby bears.
yeah.
Mama bear is not too far off, and if you get too close, she will fuck your shit up. So quickly, efficiently, quietly, I turned and I ran. And I ran and I ran until I reached a gas station, which was the nearest structure that I knew of. Got there, waited, told the story to the attendant, the guy who's working there, and he had no problem with me chilling there, having a cup of coffee, and just shooting the shit while I gave it a couple hours for them to move along and be far away from the path.
Yeah.
And I mean, other than that, they're really not that harmful to people. That being said, do take care when there is a bear.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know your shit about bears and can't tell the difference between a brown bear and a black bear, just turn and run.
And honestly, it doesn't matter because both of them will fuck you up if you don't know it better.
You don't know what you're doing? Yeah, just run. If you're in a more urban setting or a more suburban setting, then just make sure the doors are locked, the windows are tight, and try to keep pets inside and just don't go anywhere. Eventually, they'll fuck off by themselves.
Yeah.
Give a call to animal control, let them know that you saw it, and otherwise you will be safe.
Actually, the animal that you really want to be more concerned about is a cougar, because a cougar will see you more as food, whereas a bobcat won't necessarily see you as food. He just sees you as a threat, and he will fuck you up too. But the cougar, on the other hand, sees you as no bigger than a deer, and he can definitely take you down, and he can climb a tree. That's what makes them actually a little bit more scary than a bear, because when they stalk you, they will stalk you from a tree, whereas a bear, he'll follow you behind you. Like, don't piss off a bear and stay in the area.
All night and day.
Yeah, my rule of thumb is if you've pissed off a bear, you leave the area, because that bear will hold a grudge against you.
If you piss off a bear, you're already dead.
Yeah, because
unless you shoot it.
Yeah, because he's gonna.
Thank you, Trudeau. Thanks for banning my guns.
He'll never forgive you for it either. Like he will just be like, yeah, that motherfucker, and I see you next time, and I'm gonna leave some prints on you, and you won't move anymore. And bears are like that. But I like bears. You know, it's like I used to watch this guy who was Russian, so I never understood what he was saying, but he helped rehabilitate baby bear cubs.
Yeah.
And so he kept them in this like this lined box that was like it was supposed to replicate the bear den, like the baby bear's den. So it looked kind of rustic, but like you could tell that he'd done his research to make it look good, so that like the bear felt comfortable. And you know, so he just opens up what effectively is a box, and there out pops this little baby bear who's just like, the world is so big. And you know that there's the odd Russian that keeps them as a pet because the Russians are crazy.
They are very highly intelligent animals. They're very intelligent.
Yeah.
And when a lot of mammals can imprint onto humans.
They can. Like there's that guy with the polar bear. Like that polar bear loves him. Like she just adores him.
Yeah, I've seen countless videos of people who take care of these animals, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, as cubs and pups and stuff, and gorillas and apes, and you know, they may eventually re-release them or whatever, but they will go and find them, you know, 10 years later out in the wilderness, and they'll walk right up to them. Lions and shit will just walk right up to these people and give them a big hug.
I always think about the year Robin Williams.
They remember.
It's like the year that Robin Williams died, because he had met Coco the gorilla like two or three months beforehand, and she knew him. Like she knew him from the movies, and she knew when he died. You know, that's a level of intelligence that it's taken people so long.
Primates especially. Yeah.
You know, to acknowledge that it's there, and like gorilla, like that's why I was so sad with Harambe. You know, because.
It always comes back to Harambe with
back to Harambe with me, because, you know, I think of that gorilla and it's just, I have this respect for animals with that level of intelligence. When you know that you have the ability, and I know that they're an animal. I know that you're not going to be best friends with Harambe. Like, I'm not saying that. It's just, I've always had that level of respect where, like, you try to do more with something like that. Like, and I think that's the human part of my morality speaking. It's just
you know, we have that element of Spider-Man us with great power, which we do have over these animals, comes great responsibility. And like I was saying about you know, not in the interfering with, you know, the natural selection process or whatever, and from time to time, it's okay because we do have that power, and we act responsibly by saving these animals and doing right by these animals, because tomorrow we could snap our fingers and kill all of them and be the only mammal on Earth if we wanted to.
I got to bring us to a different topic, but it's the same topic because it's funny. And I hope Mustafa.
I wanted to do.
It's the same topic. Don't get me wrong. It's really funny, but I hope to God Mustafa's in the chat, because every black friend I've ever known has had this theory about white people and animals. Because there's always this animal, there's always this animal lover in Africa who's trying to make best friends with the things that the people run away from, generally speaking, or try to get rid of because they eat people. And he's like, what is it with white people and their love for dangerous animals?
Because we can fucking master that shit.
Well, you know what? If you give the Russians enough time, I do not doubt that they could domesticate bears. Because we've done it with dogs. And they're intelligent animals. Dogs are still intelligent animals. It's not impossible. It's like horses. I love horses just as much as I love dogs, because...
Well, we understand behavior. And we're learning more and more about animal behavior, so we can tailor our training and our breeding to, domesticate a lot of animals. We just haven't done it because, I mean, I'm kind of cool with just dogs and cats, to be honest. I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, I get that too, but like there's certain circumstances, like with Japan and the otters. Like, you know, I can't hate what they're doing, because they're doing it specifically to save the otters. Mm-hmm. You know, there are activists who would absolutely hate why they're doing it, but they are doing it specifically because they know that it's an endangered species, and that they know that Japanese people love cute animals. And
sorry, Noof, I'd still rather have battle moose. Anyway,
I wouldn't mind having a battle moose. You know, I wouldn't mind that at all. But
this is one step closer to having a bear mount. I still want battle moose. I have one in World of Warcraft. I ride it all the time. But I really want to get to the story because this is my buddy. This is the channel is rooting for this kid. But remember Noah, the kid who was born with 2% of his brain?
Yeah.
New update. Boy born without a brain is now a practical joker who loves playing Mario Kart. Little Noah has started talking.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's able to make little jokes. He likes playing video games, Mario Kart. So obviously like more simple end video games, but it's amazing his bounce back from basically not having a brain to having it grow post birth and be able to still have some function.
Yeah.
Look at this kid. He's fucking amazing. This kid is my hero.
Good job, buddy.
I'm so rooting for this kid. Noah, you are amazing. You are a fucking medical marvel, my dude. I'm just so excited for this kid. Like, this is fucking incredible. They act like, I know I gushed over it the last stream, but it's just so incredible how he went from like nothing and with medical science being able to sort of support him until it could grow. And now he's actually starting to do things. And remember last time I said, they don't know if he's going to be verbal or not. And sure enough, he's making jokes and started saying words. So fuck yeah, Noah. My little buddy's going to be a fucking player.
He's a cute kid too, actually. He's a cute kid.
Yeah. He's got that smile that just kind of melts your heart. He reminds me of my nephew. I only have one nephew. I've got like 20 nieces, but got that cute little blonde kid look to him.
All right, so I think we'll make this one the last article.
No, I've got two huge good ones.
Okay, we'll do two.
And one send-off one. Anyway, a quick one, breaking news, cyber attack exposes information of 15 million LifeLab customers in BC and Ontario.
Ooh.
LifeLab is a private medical lab where your doctor sends them stuff for testing. So they've privatized part of the healthcare system, which good thing, but to have such a large hack is really concerning. This is big news, and we're going to keep on top of that because I want to see what happens with the fallout of that. Because it's privacy concerns in today's age are huge.
Well, that's a weird one too, considering it's all medical. Like, I understand like the bank account ones or like when Sony
because
had
they can be financial.
But yeah, I mean that's
well, think about it. They can ransom this information. They can use this information to blackmail people if they get the right people. There's so many different. Oh, Cynic, what's up, my nude? There's so many different implications, and just on a base level, it's a violation. That's your privacy. I've got nothing to lose from somebody finding out my medical tests or whatever, but it is a massive violation of my person. That to me is why it's such big news. Quickly moving on. So Cineplex Odeon Theaters in Canada is basically for all intents and purposes a monopoly in Canada. There are smaller theaters; they tend to not do so well. Cineplex is more able to throw their financial dick around and buy exclusive rights for the top movies when they come out. However, they haven't been doing too well as of late. Most theater chains in the West haven't. They can direct their furor at streaming services or what have you. I say the market's just adapting.
Yeah, I would direct my ire at the movies themselves.
Well, I was just about to say, like what I was saying before, you have to offer a better product, a better experience if you want people to go to your business front. What the theater is. Because it's not that I think that Netflix movies are better than movie films. I just don't want to go pay $50-$60 for me and Elwyn to go see a movie that I'm kind of like, eh.
That you would maybe spend $20 for a DVD for, or just download on
Or
online.
wait a month and it's already online. It's already on a streaming service. We can pay $5-$6 to watch it on
You're essentially going to the theater to spend $20 to $50 on popcorn at that point.
For it is disgusting too. I can't eat that theater food. Oh my God. And they will even tell you themselves that's where they make most of their money is on concessions. But I'm not sad that they're dying. Like you said, they need to put out a better product.
Well, Cineplex has been crap for the longest time anyway, because like I said, like the movies themselves were what brought people in, but then they would spend so much on these theaters. So like half the time they were gaming places, but like nobody's really bringing their, they weren't really in places where a lot of kids would go,
Sure, but I mean, if sorry, but if I found out a Cineplex had an old school, fighting game arcade machine of like Marvel versus Capcom, I would love to go to that theater because that's something, I mean, Gen X, really. Yeah. That's what we're talking about here. Gen X, typically males who would more so like those kinds of.
If it was like that,
but I understand. Yeah. I understand where you're coming from in that it isn't a smart investment.
Yeah, like
I'm not the biggest draw.
Yeah, and that was where I was just like, why would you put that there? And even then, they didn't have those kind of games. Like they maybe had like maybe a section with 10 things that might be kind of like a gaming unit, but it would be something like I've never heard of that before. Or it was more of like you know how you picture people going to Japan and they've got like all those little claw games to pick up stuffies and stuff. It was all that kind of crap, and.
The huge money things where you
there was the one basketball unit where like, oh well, you could throw basketballs and maybe win something. Like, I mean, that sounds fun and all, but like that at a theater, nobody uses it. You might have the odd family that goes over because they're waiting for a movie or they're waiting for their food or something. But like, it was literally a waste of space, is what it was.
Most of the movie when I go to movies, and most of the time they're empty.
Like, I think they were banking on the fact that this theater is at a mall, and that they were hoping that the students would come in and like play on them. And I was like, if you had better games, you could have done that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But I also know that a lot of the theaters you had to buy a ticket to go even get into the arcade.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them don't. But yeah, every time I go to one of the theaters, the arcades are fucking empty as shit.
Okay. And you've got an article.
And our last one for this evening. Florida man accused of stealing Pepsi repeatedly fails to get out of store after cashier locks him inside. A Florida man's repeated failure to quench his thirst with a stolen bottle of Pepsi has gone viral after investigators released surveillance video showing his persistence. Polk County Sheriff's Office, it's always Polk County too, posted footage from inside a City Go gas station showing the man, identified as 49-year-old Gabriel Tillman, grabbing a bottle of Pepsi off a shelf near the door. Tillman could be seen trying to leave the store without paying for the bottle. An observant cashier noticed the sticky fingers and pushed a button that remotely locked the door. Oh, he looks like a total winner. He's grabbing the fire extinguisher, about to break the door. You idiot. That's shatterproof glass. Bernie, tell me how this is racist. Because the fucking Annas and Chunk Ugers and fucking Bernie Sanders are going to say, oh, well, this is just racist. Maybe he was just going to the car to get his wallet. Maybe he shouldn't have just taken the product out of the store then.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do in civilized society.
Well, yeah,
you might put it on the counter and go, oh, shit, I forgot my wallet. There's no making excuses for this. This guy obviously. And over a Pepsi. Dude, Tillman, are you fucking retarded? You're going to go to jail over a fucking Pepsi? Even overnight, even for a week, you're going to go to jail for a fucking Pepsi. What the fuck is wrong with you, dumbass?
It's going to cost him more just for the legal fees than it is just like, it's just, that's.
Eventually, the cashier unlocked the door because, as you can see in the picture, he had a fire extinguisher. He's slamming on the door. for fear that he might do a lot more damage to the store. So they let him. He finally let him out of the store, and the deputies picked him up 2 blocks away. Fucking champion, you sir. Florida man strikes again. Oh, America, fuck yeah.
Coming to save the motherfucking day, yeah. Sorry. Had to do that voice at least once.
So yeah, that brings us to the end of the show, says the Talking Nug. You can catch us this channel on Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, absolutely. And we will be back again Thursday, and then Saturday will be Functional's channel at the same great time, same great place. And I don't know if we're gonna get a guest next time, but like I said, anybody in the chat, if any of you want to come on, we are not.
I think I might be getting a special guest for Saturday,
Woo!
and I'll know more probably on Thursday's show. So we'll see.
Keep it secret.
You heard the Canadian version of that? No, I haven't, but it kind of scares me. Yeah, I just put my name in chat so you can click on my channel, sub to me over there. I do the show on Saturdays. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to do a bit more game reviews, videos, and maybe some movie and TV reviews. I know Elwin and I, when The Mandalorian are done, we're going to do a video series on The Mandalorian. She bought me a new game. We're going to do a co-stream of that. So she's going to be my co-pilot while I play the game.
Oh, that's cute.
We're going to do some commentary and some back and forth with the game.
Okay.
Probably over the holidays, I'm going to be doing some of the same with Jay Poitras in chat. Noof, friend of mine from the chat. We're going to do some game. I don't know. We're going to play it on Christmas Eve and just have a larf for the lack of anything better to do. So check that out.
Well, that sounds fun. I still don't know what games I'm going to do, guys. It's not that I'm not looking at games. It's just for some reason I keep going.
It's hard enough to dedicate enough time to make something complete for a video game when you're making content.
Yeah.
But then it's also the other commitments you have, real life stuff, this show, it's hard to fit in some of these things. So, just stay tuned and when these come, they'll be good times. They'll be fun. Yeah. I know I'll be there. I'll be ribbing you in chat for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm still, I don't know. I've been eyeballing a bunch of city builder games, and it's just like, well, I can only pick one, and I'm just narrowing down on which one I want because they're all the same, really, at the end of the day. Like, some of the functions are a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't know if you have it already. I have it. It gets a little pricey with all the DLC and everything. You might be able to find it on sale somewhere. If I can find it on sale somewhere, I'll DM you. But City Skylines, it's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that one too.
SimCity lost me years ago.
Oh yeah.
City Skylines is actually a favorite of mine. There's a lot of workshop content. It's a very complete game, done very much in the style of the what made SimCity great. You can adjust things like how much you really want to micromanage or automate certain industries, certain parts of the game, I should say. Yeah, do things like, changing your tax rates, public transit. And like I said, there's tons of DLC. Looking at Steam right now at full price, the bundle is $100 and something. So I'm good at hunting these things down on sale. So if I can find it, I'll let you know for sure.
Yeah. The other one that I was looking at is an older one.
And James, if you have a link for that, send it to me on Discord or in the chat.
Yeah, the other one I was looking at is an older one, but it's Dawn of Man.
Dawn of Man, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I liked I think it was Civ. I think it was Civilization. I like Civ a little bit more than Dawn of Man.
I'll talk to you about it then. Yeah, I'm going to look into a bunch because I've been watching a couple of channels where I get a feeling for the game, and it's just like I said, most city builders are really at the end of the day, they're really the same. I mean, I know the functions are different, the visuals might be different. Like there's you know, like there's definitely some that are better than others, but I just want to pick one that because they're easy games that I like to get into every once in a while. And that's the one thing on Steam that I can't find a freebie of. I thought by now that they would have at least one that was a freebie.
Mhm.
Just so I could have a trial on one and just be like, okay, if I'm going to spend $20 on something that I used to do in Farmville, I just want to pick one that's going to be really good. And if I get lucky, I'm hoping for a bundle after Christmas or something, you know, because they do that.
Yeah, like I said, I'll if you remind me about Donna Man or whatever else, I can look it up and even just send you a lot of the third-party retailers that sell DRM, and they usually have much better sales than Steam. Except for when Steam does, you know, the big winter sale or summer sales, those you can find shit for. Wow, yeah.
Alrighty, guys.
That being said, though, one quick thing when it comes to the games, if anybody is interested in starting a 3-man fire team for Apex Legends, I've been looking to get back into that. I'm not, you know, super hardcore. I'm fairly good at the game, so I'm not going to be like, you know, super hardcore rage on people. But at the same time, I want people who kind of know how to play a shooter. That's why it's been hard to find people who actually want to play it. But anyway. So if anybody's out there that wants to play Apex, give me a holler on Discord. And that being said,
I guess we should say something like "Get out of my yard," but that's more of a Bloodwing
oh,
thing. So,
that's no. I've got words of wisdom that I'm going to lead off by, but I was just trying to set you up.
Oh,
to say
okay. I
something.
wasn't sure. I was like, I don't really have a slogan. I mean, I was just butchering.
Doesn't have to be a slogan.
Well, I
If life seems jolly rotten, and there's something you've forgotten, and that's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. And always look on the bright side of life.
See, I know the movie, but it's been so long since I've seen it that I'm just like, wow.
Side of life.
I wanted to do that to, you know what? We should totally do that. We should totally do that. Okay, well, I'm thinking about like hounding the bigger guys with the idea of having a small group of people just jump in for caroling and then just they boot us out afterwards.
On that note, good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone. No, but seriously, could you imagine? Like, I mean, just as a joke, like I'm saying that we wouldn't stay for very long, but just have somebody jump in with like maybe 3 people just in total, and you know, making sure that only one host, like the person who's hosting, knows about it, and then just have them jump in randomly and just start caroling whatever song the host wants to hear, and then like once they're done the song, the host just kicks them out. That would be. I gotta mention that to either Sinatra or I think I'll mention it to Sinatra because he's got a sense of humor. Like the both of them, all 3 of them have a sense of humor.
Oh, he had an excellent interview. You actually get to see Sinatra in all his glory. If you check out on his Discord, there was a full, I think it was like 2.5 hour interview someone did with him. They were just shooting the shit, you know, just talking. It was really good because you get to see Sanute out of his persona, just being. I don't want to say his real name. I don't know if he's released that information. I know his real name.
He's technically been doxxed, but I don't know it either.
Okay, well, you know, just being him, not the personality, the YouTube creator, just being a dude. I thought it was really good. I really appreciated that interview.
You know, I actually genuinely do like.
Are you gonna end the stream?
I already did. Oh, I didn't.
We're still going. Oh my God, we're still going.
Okay, well, this is the behind the scenes, and we're talking shit about Sinatra.